Now, what we have for you today is the legend that is known as, let's hear it, Derek Clement.
Legend. Barrie, I'm eternally grateful for that wonderful title, legend.
Oh, yeah, but you see, as you're going to let the story unfold, people will hear why you are called a legend.
Let's go.
Because, there's been a lot of history there. A lot of history, indeed.
Absolutely.
So how have you been? Apart from busy, that is.
Barrie, I'm very well actually. So it's a great honour being here today. The weather's gorgeous. Great seeing you, and of course the music.
All I can say is, you're looking younger every time I see you. So there is definitely something to Derek Clement's products, and I have to say, very well done to you. So tell me, where did hairdressing start for you?
Hairdressing started in 1976 in Splinters International, the legendary Splinters International.
1976.
Mayfair.
Wow, yes. We'll get to that a little later on. But is that where it started for you, when you decided that you wanted to do hairdressing and you went to Splinters for the training?
That's where it started. Hairdressing found me. I didn't find it. Hairdressing literally found me.
Okay, right. So there was nowhere before Splinters?
No. I had no inkling. I had no idea what hairdressing was. I didn't know if there was such a thing as a hairdresser.
Right. Well, so how did it find you?
So here's the thing, Barrie. I say this over and over and over. I mean, I went to school in England as a kid. I experienced racism, and I remember us being thrown below the bus as children. I mean, the teachers didn't give a damn. And so I figured as early as that, 13, 14, if school is racism, it's quite likely that the workplace will be racist. So I wasn't going to realise my potential, my true trajectory, as it were.
Right.
So I remember going to the West End. I was a kid who loved the West End.
Yes, I think we all came from that generation. To be fair, the West End was always the draw. Always.
Window dressing, just visualising you as a child. Browns, Molten Browns, all the big shops then. And I remember going to the hairdresser with my girlfriend. She was much older than I was, and she worked for an MP at the time. So we went to the hairdressers. Once I'm in this place, this palatial salon, Barrie, I'm sitting there, and there's nothing but black celebrities. I mean, Billy Ocean, this, that, and the third. And I said to myself,
3 degrees, because they were living here then. Yeah,
whoever the word. In fact, I ended up becoming one of the stylists for one of the 3 degrees.
Right.
Winston, my boss, the legendary Winton Isaacs, who's since passed, did their hair, and I remember him giving me one of their clients, one of the 3 degrees. I think it wasn't Sheila Ferguson, it was the other...
Valerie.
The
Valerie Holder.
That's right, Valerie.
That's right, yeah.
Valerie. And Barrie, I said to myself, when I'm sitting in the reception area, this place is gorgeous. There's Rolls Royce parked outside. There's all kinds of fancy cars. There's all black people. I'm like, nah, this is where I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, it was something to be really said. And they did raise the bar, because for black salons to have sites in prime real estate in the West End was unusual, because you had them in Shepherd's Bush, you had them in Tottenham, that was expected, you had them in New Cross. But to say you had a salon owned by a black person, a black owned salon in prime estate in the West End, was something pretty special. And I can remember there was only Splinters, Ebony, which came later, and Root magazine and Root Salon.
You hit the nail on the head, Barrie. This was the zenith of black cultural esteem, what we now call black excellence. My word now is blacknificent. That's a much better word, blacknificent. Right, so you're right, to have a black salon in the heart of Mayfair in 1970, that's a remarkable achievement.
Absolutely, it really was. So from Splinters, it went to your own salon in Lancaster Gate, wasn't it? Was it Lancaster?
Well, no, that's Terry Jacks. Lancaster.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, then another one that we need to add to the list.
No, I was looking for a shop in Haymarket,
right,
next to Fortman Masons, and I found a beautiful location in Maida Vale. So we bought the building, Maida Vale.
That's it. My mistake, Maida Vale.
We got the building in Maida Vale, 3 stories and a beautiful basement. Cost me at the time, I was only 24. It cost me at the time £250,000. So there you are. So Hairdressing, I keep saying, is the economic linchpin of the black community. Hairdressing made us all money and made us all rich.
Well, the thing is, it shows that because even to this day, hairdressing is still so important
It is.
in our community.
Hairdressing.
You know, the extensions, the whatever it is, the hair and hairdressing is still of paramount importance in our community.
Barrie, the Afro hairdressing industry is worth £2.5 billion per year.
Yeah.
It is a lucrative industry and it's still making people wealthy today. It has sent children to school, moms and pops send kids to school, to universities, they become professors and all sorts of things. So, I mean, I have not regretted doing hairdressing. Today I'm still doing hairdressing. And working for Splinters would have been a marvellous eye-opener. Hence the reason why I ended up having my own shop in Maida Vale.
Right.
In 19...
Well, you know, it's lovely for me to be able to speak to you on another level as professionals. But being actually a part of Splinters myself, coming into Splinters in my first experience of Splinters as a hair model for Super Curl, and Mayor doing the hair, was 1983, so Barrie, I came a bit later.
Barrie, I can see Barrie now as a young lad, tall and skinny. The man's a model, dancing up and down in the reception back in the day.
That's right.
That was me. Those were the days. Those were the days.
And when Afro Hair and Beauty was really a prestigious event.
It was.
You know, it really was a prestigious
Started
event.
In 1978 by Dyke and Drive, and the first show was at the Dorchester Hotel in Park Lane. So you see the level at which black people was thinking of operating. Park Lane, Dorchester Hotel.
Yeah.
That was the first.
You know, the bar was already very high. It went from there to, the Cumberland Hotel.
And then, Wembley after that.
Wembley Arena. That was the biggest show of all.
That's
I remember that,
right. Ali Pali for a while.
Yeah. I mean, they really did set the bar high.
Yep.
But let's talk about your travels around Europe, Caribbean, teaching hairdressing. Because I think you hooked up with Hewlett.
Absolutely. Hewlett worked for me as an artistic director. She worked back in the day. We traveled everywhere. Went to Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, New York, literally everywhere. Just literally teaching and passing the baton on, if you like.
Yeah, because that's the legacy, though, isn't it? It's not just you doing stuff. It's you doing things that other people can grasp.
Precisely.
Grab the baton and run with it and create. Because really and truly, the idea is that the next generation's achievements should really surpass yours.
Right. Well, I mean, we were looking for a place, something to do, somewhere to go, and someone to teach us. So we learned that skill. The baton passed on to us. We're now passing the baton to the next generation. Hence the reason why it's incumbent for me to go across as wherever it takes me to pass the baton on.
Yeah.
The Afro hairdressing industry is old as time itself. Bear in mind, Barrie, the oldest hairdressing implement is an Afro comb.
Yeah,
and it goes back to 6,000 years.
Yeah, an Afro comb made out of wood.
The Afro comb. The Afro pick.
You know, and then all the other accoutrements that came later, like the pressing comb, the curling iron, that was literally on the fire.
On the stove.
On the stove.
Created by Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone in 1901. These women were trailblazers.
You know, I can always remember my mother pressing her hair and then saying, "Don't stand up behind me," because the hair was so long. When she stretched the comb, the hot comb was coming in my direction.
Well, we've been manipulating the hair for centuries.
Absolutely.
And I understand why. I mean, it's we had something called Afrophobia, so we had to fit in. And if you're working back then for a corporate environment, your hair had to look the part.
But it's starting to change. It is starting to change.
The naturalista movement is here.
But, with all that we're talking about with Derek, hair is, he's now written a book. He now has a range of hair products and food products as well.
That's right.
So I am really dumbfounded. We are going to enjoy some music and then we're going to come back with Derek.
Wonderful.
Okay, guys, we are back. That was the wonderful Deborah Laws there and On My Own. We are back with Derek. Yes, we are.
Barrie, you're transporting me. You're taking me back. Listen, man. I was the original soul boy, so
we know you were the original soul boy. Trust me. He's in here having his own party because his eyes are just bulging every time he hears a new next tune. So that's really good.
Memories.
So now, please tell us about your product line.
So, Barrie, it's only natural that as a hairdresser, it's important that we have our own line of products. Naturally, that would appeal to me. So, today what we have done is moved into what we call the vegan we got the vegan range, Barry.
Right.
I say to my client, the hair grows at a cellular level. It doesn't grow from the out, it grows from within. So the point I'm trying to tell my client is ensure that you consume the right ingredients that's going to go towards enhancing your hair.
Right. Yeah.
So I talk about the well-being of the hair, not just trying to grow your hair, but the well-being of the hair.
Well, it makes perfect sense because can be applied to you are what you eat. So
100%.
if you eat certain things that promote hair growth, good skin, well then it's coming from within. It's not
That's
about
right.
rubbing something on the surface and expecting it to penetrate and
You're right. You've said it.
create miracles.
You've said it. Food is medicine, and medicine is food, and you've got to medicate your hair from within. It doesn't grow from without.
Yeah. So what is the product line? Let's see.
So I've morphed into the Food for Hair Care by DeCutter Clement. So we've got the cocoa. Now the cocoa is to me the quintessential hair food. It is the elixir of all hair foods. Why? Because cocoa gives you chocolate, it gives you cocoa tea, like we talk about Ovaltine, Milo, and it gives you the cocoa butter. So Barry, here is the DeCutter Clement chocolate. It's called biotin. Now biotin is a hair growth enhancer.
Yeah.
Biotin makes your hair grow. Why? Because of the B12, the B7, and all the other elements. It's got the omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids. And these are the things that makes your hair grow. You should be able to eat your hair products. So I've got the DeCutter Clement biotin, the cocoa bar. Have a look, Barrett, the cocoa bar, right? And then I've got the DeCutter Clement cocoa powder, which can be made into a nice hot cup of tea or a lovely smoothie supplement, right? And of course, so this is the DeCutter Clement cocoa bar. It's called biotin bar. It's edible, right? We've got now the cocoa powder, which can be made into a lovely drink. I collaborate with a Grenadian company called Juve. Juve is a very old chocolatiers. The building goes back, it's as old as time itself. So we've got the cocoa butter bar. As I said to you before, if it can't be eaten, it shouldn't go into your hair. It shouldn't go into your hair. So there you are. I'm sure, the taste is in the pudding. Barry, this is the cocoa butter.
Okay.
It's edible, and it goes on your hair, on my bald head, on my beard, on my skin. So my products is really for the hair, skin, food, and gut. Why? Because hair grows internally.
So tell me now, I need you to leave me with a range of these products because the next time you see me, I expect to have an Afro. And if I don't have an Afro, there will be a problem. Okay.
I hear that, Barry. I hear that. I did say it's for hair, health, and the well-being of your hair. So you haven't got a beard, I've got my beard. My hair grows on my beard. It doesn't go on my scalp.
But I've got a head that's
right.
I expect to have a 1970s Afro.
Absolutely. And so you need to take the DeCutter Clement Food for Afro Hair Care System.
Indeed. So what else have you got for us there?
So I've got the vegan range, but let's talk about the Blacknificent oil. The Blacknificent oil, again, is for your skin and your hair.
Right.
In there are all the big boys, the baobab oil, the castor oil, the argan oil, the cocoa butter oil. That's marvelous. Hair and skin. And it's for both men and women. So you've got this is for the guys, we call it K77, men's range, and this is for the ladies. Right?
Okay.
And for the external, because it's important to look at the external, we've got the vegan, DeCutter Clement vegan lemongrass. You're going to love this, guys. If you buy this, this is amazing. The aroma is brilliant. DeCutter Clement Nourishing Mist vegan, and the DeCutter Clement Leave-In Moisturizer is also vegan. So my entire ethos is about health.
Right. And so it should be.
Of course.
And so it should be.
I mean, Afro hair has been beaten up, it's been dragged through the mud, it's really had a rough time. So what we need to do now, since we're in the natural hair movement, is to heal our hair. It's time to start healing the hair and consequently heal your mind.
Yes, because there came a time when they were actually saying that the products that you were putting in your hair, the chemicals, were causing health issues, fibroids, etc. And what is interesting is I love to see that we're going full circle. Mm-hmm. We're going back to the original organic things
Right.
that we were using before organic had a name, because you
Right,
know,
yeah.
in the Caribbean we were using castor oil, we were using argan oil, all of those things naturally. And then it was, oh well, you know, oh, it's too greasy, it's too this, it's too that. So
That's
then
right.
you start buying the product
Right.
from
That's right.
L'Oreal
That's
or
right.
a firm or whoever,
That's right. That's
you know,
right.
and
That's right.
feeling that it's somehow improving.
That's right.
When in actual fact it's destroying you, and you have to go back to the original to actually heal.
You're right, Barry. Now there's a new word that is now called environmental racism. Most of these products have the most awful chemicals. For example, parabens, sulfates. These are ingredients that are shelf life.
Yeah.
So if it's in the product, it's gonna do irreparable damage to your hair.
Absolutely. I have to give one big shout out to David Little and Kevin Wainwright in Norfolk. I got it right. I got told off on Friday for putting them in the wrong location. I do it all the time. So great to have you listening. And now we move on to the book.
The book, Barry.
Now listen to this title. I'm going to let him tell you the title, okay? I love it, but I'm going to let him tell you the title.
Shampoo, Sex and Champagne. And I get people, why sex? Why champagne? Well, of course, shampoo talks about the craft, right? Sex talks about the lifestyle. We are sexual beings, so sex talks about, if you like, the lifestyle, and the champagne is about the dream, the ultimate dream. Now, I'm from a generation that was referred to as a sexual revolution, 1970s.
Yeah.
You know what went on in the 70s.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
That's right, in the 60s.
Free love.
So free love and all of that. So it stuck in my mind. Why not shampoo? There was a movie once I saw as a child. The movie was called Shampoo.
Absolutely, with Warren Beatty.
All right. So that kind of triggered in me.
But you know, it did go hand in glove.
It's basically
that
true
kind
story.
of lifestyle. And you know that fashion
Sure.
combined with hair,
Sure.
combined with music,
Sure.
theatre, it is one entity,
interchangeable,
because they're
of course.
interconnected.
Of course they are.
You know,
Of course they are.
and you find that people flow from one to the other, and it was very much the lifestyle.
100%. But I've
The
done
parties, the
gosh.
you know, and as you say, you come up to Splinters and their Rolls Royces parked outside, and you get a glass of champagne when you sit down to get your hair done, and you know, it was.
Barry, I was saying to the cameraman, as a young boy, I grew up rough in the hood, what they call
Well,
the
speak
ghetto.
for yourself. I've never been rough in my life. I just want to make that clear. I've never been in the hood in my life, and I've no intention of going.
I'm not gonna
Move
lie.
on.
I'm not gonna lie. When I went into the West End as a young lad, I morphed into an entirely different person, and so it made me a better person for that. I'm eternally grateful. But Barry, there are 10 books. It's not just one. It's a trilogy. There are
Right.
10 books, and this happens to be the third because my editor is such a hustler. He's able to get this book out first. But there's a book called Afrodom: The Rise of a Pioneer in the Afro Hairdressing Industry, which is really about the Splinters journey,
Right.
which you could relate to.
Absolutely.
And the next book is called Tress Trauma. Tress Trauma talks about transgenerational tress. You know about that.
Absolutely,
Women
yeah.
and men who were so traumatized by the fact that the hair was either what we call back then texturism. Texturism was massive as children back in the day, in the 60s. So you thought your hair was picky, you thought your hair wouldn't grow. So there's a generation of black women who are traumatized, grandmother bastards and
Absolutely.
children.
Yeah.
And so we have to get them out of that trauma, if you like.
Yeah. So this is what the books, and how many are there? 10.
There are
you
10
said?
books altogether. It took me 35 years to write those books, Barry. I couldn't even use a computer.
So there's hope for me, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
35 years?
It's not too late. Not
I
too
mean,
late.
if I take 35 years, I'll probably finish when I'm 42, 43.
okay, so you're
Just
backwards.
go with it,
So
guys.
you're
Just go
backwards.
with it, okay? Yeah, all right. Well, Derek, thank you so
Pleasure.
much for coming.
Absolute
It is
pleasure.
amazing to talk to you.
Thank you.
And all the best with
Thank
all of the projects. I tell you, my guests always make me feel inadequate and feel very pedestrian because they are multitasking on a level that is phenomenal. So he's still got his hairdressing business going,
Absolutely.
and he decides, well, you know, I'm going to have a line of my own products, which is a natural transition, in fact.
Sure.
And then I'll write a book about it, and all of these are going on concurrently. Just
Well, we talk about preserving the legend, right? The legend,
Yeah.
the pioneers and the veterans, or the
Absolutely.
legends, veterans, and pioneers.
Absolutely.
We talk about restoring the history, heritage, and legacy of Afro hair. We lived at an amazing time, Barry, in the 1970s. That time has to be preserved. Only us could tell the story. So I call myself the gatekeeper of Afro hair. of the Afro realm.
Absolutely, because I think it is really important, and as my right hand man, Mark Anthony, will tell you, the whole project is really about stories, our stories being told to us, by us, in real time,
100%.
and being received with sympathetic ears.
Indeed.
Really looking to get the best out of you.
Sure.
Thank you so much for coming. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Grateful.
And look forward to seeing you next time with my Afro. And
he's gonna get a chocolate bar. And Mark Anthony, thanks for the conversation, my brother. It's like my younger self. I mean, I'm sure talking to Mark is just remarkable. It's like my younger self, back in the day.
Absolutely. So all the best with everything.
Thank you very much,
and
guys.
We will speak shortly.
Thank you very much.